Hello and welcome to the Empowered Couples Podcast, where here you get modern, non-boring relationship advice for you and your partner to communicate like pros, fight smarter, and stay in the same team no matter the challenge that you face. I'm one of your hosts, Aaron Freeman.
And I'm Jocelyn Freeman, but you all just know us as the Freemans.
And this episode is the relationship advice your friends won't give you, but you need to hear.
And if you're a frequent listener, you're probably thinking, wait, Freeman's, you don't normally release a second episode during the week. Well, our intention is to come to you with a second episode that is more motivational, that's a quick perspective shift, that's something that will bring back some motivation into your week, or maybe just some straight up real talk that we think you all need to hear. So that's what this episode is going to be. And I just have to say, because I was like, Aaron, you got to do this one. You got to do this one because you have been showing up so powerful on our sessions lately. And there are times where you really challenge. You know, a lot of times you're talking to the man and really challenging him, and you get really motivational and you kind of confront him in a good way. And I just have loved seeing that side of you. And when you were telling me about this topic, I was like, you have to do it. Like, people need to hear this straight up, what their friends wouldn't say to them, but they need to hear it. So I want to just acknowledge you for that and give you the floor.
Well, when you say that, it makes me think there's a reason that is, because when we're on a coaching session, there's the permission. People have entered into coaching with us. So they're wanting the straightforward, what other people wouldn't tell them. And that is another conversation we've had with friends recently, because why you don't necessarily hear this from your friends, well, number one, they're probably not relationship coaches, but also they are there to be your friend. And a friend is typically known to support and to encourage and to have your back. Actually, one of our friends said yesterday how much they appreciate the friendship with you because, for lack of a better term, straight shooter.
Oh, okay. That's
like,
nice.
You tell people the confronting truth that they need to hear, and that is what people are unwilling to do because they feel like it will be a disruption into the friendship. Like, confrontation equals disrupting the friendship. But there's a lot of different things out there. Even in the Bible, there's a verse that talks about that it's better to get like a wound from a friend than a kiss from an enemy. And I think all too often we are trying to be nice and obligatory to each other so that we maintain this idea of friendship. Yet how many of us have a friend that you hear about later, say got divorced or went through a super challenging time, and you're like, I didn't even know.
Exactly, yeah.
So we're not always having the real conversations about people's actual life and their challenges because we're trying to maintain this level of friendship that's more of like a social, sometimes just be nice and maintain that status quo. That's not always serving.
Exactly. Well, and sorry, but that's not going to be who we are for you guys, right? Because we respect you enough to be honest with you, and we believe in you. We believe in your potential. And so, yes, we want to be both cheerleaders sometimes for you, but we also want to give you some real talk. So, Aaron, what was the message today that you wanted to share?
Let me put this into context really quick too, because what tends to happen is when you get into a place that's more challenging, that's more difficult in your marriage, which comes from various things lowering your love account. So you've heard us talk about that a lot. When you're in a lower love account place, then you start to act on how you feel. And how you feel is unloved, you feel disrespected, you feel not prioritized, you feel controlled, you feel dominated, you feel put down.
Sad, mad.
And so then you act from those feelings. But in these challenging places, that not only doesn't serve you, it actually gets you into a worse place. So the advice that you need to hear that you don't hear from your friends, this is it, and we're going to go further. You have to start acting from your commitment, not from how you feel. I feel like the overall society or segment of the mass society that has sort of been labeled the spiritual community has done a huge disservice to marriage because of the idea of individual empowerment has become this thing about this is my truth. And people start to justify their poor actions and their poor decisions and say, this is my truth, and then act from it. And then they can do things like end a marriage. They can keep themselves distant and not repair a conflict that they should be stepping into, that they let an argument hangover go for days rather than what could be 1 hour. You start to disregard your partner. You start to let yourself make harsh comments, all based on your own justification. This is my truth. And I call BS. That's just how you feel. And you're trying to label it as, this is my boundary, don't cross me. And you're just a hurt child trying to justify to yourself that that's your truth. And it's just BS. Because you have to muster the commitment that you said about the marriage and your partner. How many of you can even remember what it was that you said at your wedding ceremony, your vows? What did you actually promise? Beyond that, if you think about a business owner or an athlete, if they acted based on how they felt, they would not get to the top of their game. If an athlete acted on how they feel, I'm tired, this practice was too much, that game was too hard, I got injured. For the top level athlete, they're going to be getting a lot of criticism from the media or from Twitter. And if they let all of that consume them and they feel like, oh, this is unfair, I'm too tired, I'm hurt, I don't want to do this anymore, then you're not going to further progress as the athlete in your sport. You're not going to get any better. But that's what you're doing as a partner. You're saying, oh, I'm hurt. Oh, I'm tired. Or I'm drained. Oh, I feel disrespected. But this is my truth. Well, I don't care. In a sense, I don't care how you feel, because someone in your relationship, and the one listening is you. It should be you. Someone has to create a standard in which I am not going to tolerate this further decline in our patterns. I'm not going to let myself sink down and become small and really become a victim to how I feel, and not stand upon my commitment to the standard of my relationship, the standard of repair, the standard of connection, the standard of love, the standard of kindness, the standard of compassion, of understanding, of listening, of being slow to anger, of not reacting. And that's the only way you get out of a challenging season, which you're going to have sometime. So you cannot guise your inability to act in a positive manner, or have this be an illusion that this is my truth, and you get to slump away into the darkness and just let your relationship be whatever it's going to be, further decline, not repairing, waiting for your partner to do something. No, it's you. So that's what you're not going to hear from your friends.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to go to your friends and you're going to say, man, my partner made this criticism. They're not adding to my love account. They're not making deposits. I feel disrespected.
We've been arguing a lot lately. And then your friend is going to justify to you, yeah, you're right. You should take more time for yourself. You should go away. You should take more space. Maybe you should end the relationship. And in the context that we're talking about, which is outside of any like abuse or a level of, you know, really working on the relationship for years and years and inviting your partner into it. And if they're unwilling, right, that's a different conversation about completing a relationship. But that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about you have some hurt feelings, and then your friends pat you on the back and console you and say, yeah, you're justified. Yeah, end the relationship. They're not good for you. That's crap. Unless for years and years you've been acting on your commitment, your stand, your standard, and after years of maybe doing that, if you're really not aligned, again, that's a different conversation, but that's not what we're talking about here. Your friends are not going to tell you that, because you're going to feel like, you're my friend. Why aren't you supporting me? Why aren't you backing up my feelings? Well, I'm not here to back up your feelings, because if you act from your feelings, you're not making their marriage any better. I'm feeling fired up by what you're saying. I hope all of you listening are. And I just want to say two things, and I'll come back to the partnership, but I think it's important that we see in our broader life that The progress we want in any area requires us to go beyond our temporary feelings. And a lot of people have not developed themselves to do this. Couple examples. I'm tired at the end of the day. I don't feel like cleaning up, right? But I'm going to because of the standard that we have set. And you're the same way. You might be tired. Doesn't matter that you feel that way. You're going to hold to the standard that we have for our bedtime routine and making sure we get some downtime for us. Other ones are health. When you first are working on your nutrition and your exercise, you don't feel like going to the gym. Every day, I still have to talk myself into it and be like, I know you'd rather go do something else, but you'd want the result. And so we have to develop ourselves as people who go beyond our feelings and go to what you're saying, what we're committed to, the result and the way we want to live life. Now, going back to the partnership, that's what we're here for, right? You're exactly right that there are going to be times we don't feel like it. We don't feel like repairing. We don't feel like apologizing. We don't feel like being loving. And to be honest, we work with a lot of couples and everybody's in a different space, but there have been a few recently that we've had to have some hard, honest conversations similar to what Aaron is sharing here today and saying, you know what? You have two futures ahead of you. Mm-hmm. And here's what this one looks like. And it's painful and it's parting ways and it's seeing your family separate. And of course, sometimes that's appropriate, like you said, when there's abuse or years of one person not trying at all. But you don't want to go down that path. So if you're committed to love, connection, unity, repair, all of those things, then you have to act on that commitment. Don't be in the middle. So anyway, I could go on a tangent about the whole idea of don't be in the middle, but I just love what you're saying about what is your commitment? What is it that you want for the partnership? And are you acting from that? Or are you focusing on your short-term feelings of, I'm hurt, I'm sad, I don't want to apologize, I'm distant, I'm disconnected. You have to, and we say this to every couple, when you're in a hard season, whether that's a week-long hard season, a month, a year, to get the momentum going in a positive direction, you literally have to do the positive things before you feel like it. Mm-hmm. Prime example is after a couple big arguments. We had a session with a couple yesterday and it's like they had 3 big arguments in the last couple weeks. They certainly don't feel like connecting and having dinner together and being affectionate and being loving. And we said that's normal, that's natural. And of course, we talked them through how to have a repair conversation. You guys know that's a big tool of ours. Once you have that repair conversation, you then have to act from your commitment of love and connection before you even feel like it. And then the momentum builds. Mm-hmm. And then you start to feel like it, right? So,
yeah, and then your partner can meet you there. Mm-hmm. If you start to act in loving ways, even though you don't feel loved, then that's going to start to fill their love account. And in return, maybe not today or the next day, but your partner will automatically start to act from their feelings. Mm-hmm. You've taken a stance. I do not tolerate any further decline in this marriage. These patterns, not repairing, who's going to do that? So I'm going to act from how I am committed to being loved, mm-hmm. even though I don't feel loved. Mm-hmm. So now your actions are completely different. When you wake up, your attitude is different. Your attitude and your thoughts generate an emotion within you. So through acting that way, you can start to feel better. Mm-hmm. And in making those actions, those deposits towards your partner, raises their love account. When theirs is higher, you can let them act on how they feel, which is more cared for and more supported and more mm-hmm. heard. So then they make deposits back to you, which mm-hmm. then raises your love account. Mm-hmm. So now you're starting to feel more love.
Exactly.
So now you raise each other up. So the point is, you're in this together. And if no one is willing to take the stand and act from what you're committed to, you both are going to be in decline. Mm-hmm. So who's going to draw the line? Yeah. Because the reverse is then true. Act from loving, and then you start to move the cycle forward and create the positive momentum of filling your love accounts, and then your actions follow.
Exactly. So I am fired up from this. We hope that you are fired up and that this is a positive perspective, some motivation. And don't let this be just a nice thing you heard. Take action from this. Have this fuel your commitment. Now, with that said, we know that some of you are going to be like, I want to, do a session with the Freemans, or I want to take a stand. I want to do the work for us. A couple things come to mind. Number one, come to our couples workshop. If you want to meet us in person, we are hosting an in-person couples workshop on September 10th, 2023, right here. So in a month in Arizona, and actually half of the registrations so far are from out-of-town guests across the country. So don't think, well, we don't live in Arizona. No, people are coming and booking a hotel and making this time for their relationship. So you can go to thecouplesworkshop.com, save your seats while they're available for that workshop in September, and then explore our entire website. You'll see the workshop on there. You'll see all of our resources and the ways that we support couples. And that website is meetthefreemans.com, and those links will be in the show notes. But make sure you take a stand for your relationship and you act from your commitment so that you feel and see that benefit. But we love you guys, and we will talk to you on the next episode.